Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Orlando World Sunday Showdown round of 64. This week we take a time-travelling trip and head underwater as we see Back to the Future the ride go head-to-head against Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. Let's take a look at both of these attractions. Back to the Future the ride was the predecessor to the Simpsons ride. The attraction opened almost a year after Universal Studios opened, taking guests on a simulator dark ride. It opened on the 2nd of May 1991 at a cost of over $40 million. The attraction features a few of the original cast, who either reprised their roles from the movie trilogy, or were seen in archived footage. Back to the Future the ride was originally planned to be a high-speed roller coaster, similar to the Rock 'n' Roller Coaster ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. However, the plan was changed, as developers didn't think the ride would be able to tell a story effectively, so opted for the simulation ride instead. The ride was fun, with many of the elements that guests enjoy on the Simpsons ride today, with the predecessor being the more grittier ride. Back to the Future was insanely popular, but was initially plagued with problems in the beginning, although once these were rectified, the ride quickly became the go-to attraction at Universal Studios, often having lengthy wait times. Under the Sea, the Journey of the Little Mermaid is a family-oriented dark ride, based on the Little Mermaid movie. It opened at Magic Kingdom in the Fantasyland area of the park on the 12th of October 2012, where it occupied the former area which was home to the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine voyage attraction, and the latter plus Playful Spot and Ariel Grotto. The ride was named and themed slightly differently at Magic Kingdom and Disney's California Adventure Parks, with the Magic Kingdom version being located within Prince Eric's castle facade. Under the Sea uses the classic Disney Omnimover system, which helps to make it a higher capacity ride. The attraction is bright and full of typical animatronics and music, which makes it a hit with younger children and families. Now, let's head into this week's battle, and see which attraction after all 5 rounds, will take their place in the round of 32. Let's go now into the first round. Back to the Future the ride was housed inside the iconic Institute of Technology building. On entering the building, you watch some pre-show clips centered around Doc Brown, who has opened the Institute of Technology to showcase his inventions. The story is themed in the timeline of events just after the third movie, Back to the Future 3. The story centers around guests being invited to be volunteers to test the DeLorean car, going a day into the future. However, plans change as Doc Brown explains that Biff Tannen has managed to wreak havoc on the space-time continuum, and infiltrates the Institute of Technology and steals a DeLorean. Doc asks you to help him chase down Biff, as you quickly board the 8-seater DeLorean vehicles before speeding off in the simulator, which is mounted on a pivoting ride system in front of a 70-feet Omnimax Dome cinema screen. After a high-speed chase smashing through buildings and various time periods, Biff is apprehended at the end to end the ride. The ride is themed well, and for the time period, the ride did a great job of immersing riders into the story. There were lots of interesting memorabilia scattered around the ride area, and the DeLorean cars were designed incredibly well, making it a very fun ride. Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid attraction is a dark Omnimover attraction at Magic Kingdom, opening as part of the Fantasyland expansion. The attraction is themed well, as it's bright and colourful, and appeals to its target audience, younger guests, taking them under the sea, through a slow-moving journey through the story of the Little Mermaid. Guests enter through Prince Eric's castle, before passing through a cavern and can participate in a scavenger hunt on the way to boarding the ride. After boarding the brightly coloured clamshell omnimover, and passing the wreckage of Prince Eric's ship, the ride takes you through the depths of the ocean, and through various scenes with some musical numbers before ending with a joyful rendition of Under the Sea. The theming is extremely well laid out, and it achieves a good effect of being under the sea, although it isn't the most immersive of attractions. The theming of both attractions is good, and both achieve the desired effect for their respective rides. But just narrowly in the first round, although it was an extremely close call, Back to the Future just sneaks the first point in today's matchup. The film franchise ride just offered a better thrill, with better use of its theming. Although the Mermaid attraction was more pleasing on the eye, it just doesn't match the pleasure of boarding the iconic DeLorean car. Let's move on to round 2. Back to the Future, much like the Simpsons ride, took place inside the giant building, which had 2 giant theatres which housed the large dome-shaped Omnimax screens. Each theatre was capable of holding up to 12 DeLorean vehicles, making a total of 24 cars in the full ride. Each car held 8 people, bringing a total of 92 riders per theatre, or 184 in total per each ride cycle. Meaning between the queue show segments and actual ride, the capacity could reach up to 2,000 riders per hour. The Little Mermaid attraction, using the high-capacity Omnimover system, allows Disney to have a continuous flow of riders, making it extremely easy to have a high capacity. It isn't the highest capacity Omnimover ride at Disney World, but still one of the highest capacity rides in the parks. Guests can be seated in the seashell ride vehicles in either couples or up to 3 riders, making it a maximum ride capacity of up to 2,200 per hour. Which means in round 2, just narrowly, the Omnimover comes out on top, being the higher capacity attraction, levelling the score going into the 3rd round. For durations, Back to the Future was a very lengthy simulation attraction, taking into account the pre-show and ride segments. The ride took guests on a trip back to the future for a 15-minute showcase through various time periods. The ride lasted a fairly lengthy time, but with the speed chase elements, it was a good balance, meaning it didn't feel too long or too short, making it noble enough for the duration, but enough to make you want to ride again. Back to the Future was able to make some great use of its ride time, and offered a thrilling experience for riders. The Little Mermaid ride, though by comparison, being a much more tame attraction, aimed more at younger riders, lasts about the appropriate length of time for its intended audience. Using the Omnimover system, the ride travels fairly slowly, taking in several scenes throughout. It isn't the most thrilling of attractions, and not long in length, but clocking in at 6 minutes of ride time is more than enough for riders, as it takes you through the bright and vibrant underwater world of the beloved movie. So in round 3, the Little Mermaid attraction can't compete with the ride duration of Back to the Future, which is over double the length in ride time, which means, as we head into the penultimate round, Back to the Future goes back into the lead, at 2 points to 1. Let's move on to round 4. Back to the Future was once the marquee attraction within Universal Studios, along with the Jaws ride. Arguably over time though, like many movie-based rides, after a number of years, their popularity dwindles due to newer generations' park guests not being accustomed to the themes of certain attractions, such is the case here. The rethinking of the area to that of The Simpsons was at first considered a risk by many fans of the Back to the Future ride, however it seems The Simpsons brand is proving to be a popular change. However, for over 16 years, Back to the Future was considered one of the best attractions in the world, and was at the time of closing, one of the longest running movie franchise rides anywhere in Florida. Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid has been in operation since 2012, where it replaced Who's Playful Spot, the original site of the 20,000 Leagues Under Sea ride, which operated for 23 years. Under the Sea features a few acknowledgements to the former attraction throughout the ride, in a tribute to the attraction. The Little Mermaid attraction isn't the most sought after of attractions in the park, but for over 7 years it has offered guests a look at the classic Disney family ride, which is fun for younger children. So in round 4, the round goes to Back to the Future, which operated for much longer than the current Magic Kingdom attraction. Let's head into the 5th and final round. Back to the Future was arguable of the best theme park rides of its generation. It paved the way with new technologies, and a complex ride system, which was eventually rolled out into mainstream rides and attractions, which are similar today. The only issue that Back to the Future might have had, which ultimately led to the change, was its theming. Although it was a fantastic ride, and offered a great thrill for a simulation ride, the fact that as time passes, some franchises become dated and need refreshing, it's hard to do in some cases, which led to the retheming. Back to the Future though is still rightfully considered as one of the best and most innovative of attractions of its time, and still holds a valued place in many theme park guests' hearts as being a high-octane thrill ride, with a heavy nostalgic tone. Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid is in contrast, a very tame, pedestrian experience, that's unlikely to offer much in the way of any thrill value. However, for its intended audience, it's a worthy ride, and certainly an enjoyable, light-hearted experience for all. The ride is worth a visit to break away from the packed park crowds, or to escape the weather. Although it isn't a must-do attraction, it's a decent show, with some nice effects and animatronics, but there are better rides similar to this are worth seeing first. So with it in mind, again, it's another point for the former Universal attraction as it takes the final point in today's matchup. Meaning this week, we have a clear 4 points to 1 winner this week. Which does mean, sadly, we need to say goodbye to Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. The attraction is decent, and will be a hit with its intended audience. Although it has plenty of charm, it does lack the thrills that Back to the Future presented in abundance. Back to the Future advances to the next round. Join us next time, where we see the former Universal attraction Jaws the ride go head-to-head with the ride which replaced Back to the Future, the Simpsons ride. See you next week. Have you seen our photo flashback video series featuring this week's attractions? You can check the links in the description down below. We hope you enjoy this video. Please support us by subscribing to our channel. You can find us on social media platforms. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Orlando Worlds, and on Instagram at The Orlando Worlds. Thanks for watching.